I am heavily guided by dreams. And when I help people to complete this merge between the yin and the yang, what I get is in dreams is that people become pregnant of a baby, and then this baby, when this baby is born, it's this incredible baby because these babies are symbolized as unions of opposites. For instance, you would get one that had black hair and white skin, and so the yin and the yang, the opposites, but in these beautiful combinations. Or you would have one that had olive skin and blondish hair and light eyes, and these babies, they represent the union of the yin and the yang in a wonderful balance. And these babies are called the man child because they are babies and adults at the same time, and they have gifts. And these babies are that what Jung would call the true selves, and they are the ones that can live in this ecology of what would be called the new world, which is to be a world on a higher frequency, which is where the telepathic bond is the norm. Like now we connect to the telepathic bond within the womb, and these are like what they call paranormal moments, but there the paranormal is the normal. And so I use the dreams to get glimpses of this new world, and people have seen this in terms of like almost as a kind of a Cirque du Soleil ish world where, but instead of people floating on strings, they would be floating by themselves, and it's just incredible, different ecology. And so the dreams are guiding me and the people that I am facilitating, and almost like I'm like a midwife, because by helping people to unite their opposites, then this baby is born, and this baby has these gifts because this baby is living already in this new world where the telepathic is the norm. That's why. So they're not. We would call them gifts, but in the world of the butterfly, that is the norm. You see, and so this is not. For instance, in all these sacred literature, the image of the New Jerusalem or the City of Light, it appears in the Islam, it appears in Buddhism, in all of these sacred accounts. In Buddhism, it's referred to as Shambhala, but this is not religion. This is science. This is glimpses. These are like big dreams of people from the different corners of the world that have been glimpsing that this is the world that we are supposed to live in when we complete ourselves. You see? And this is quantum physics. This is depth psychology. And everything is set for this moment. And that's why I am very excited about what my work with the dreams have been showing me, because it's bringing all of this together, but in a very coherent picture. You see, and that's basically the step we're about to take.
So most of us are not there yet, clearly. Maybe a few are busy with this process, but what would you call the state that, in psychological terms, that we are in? Is this what they call dualism, the two fishes?
Exactly. Most of us are in the two fishes in the sea. Very well describes the stage we are in, which is a stage of dualism, which is a stage where we are in a kind of a separate sense of separateness. In the new ecology, we are directly conscious of the fact that what is happening outside is connected to inside, and thus, in a way, we are creating it. Now we don't see that connection because we are in a sense of separateness without and within. So, and that's what Jung called the conscious and the unconscious, or the yin and the yang, the anima and the animus. And so my work is actually like, as it were, the way to get people ready to be able to enter this next step, which is the uniting of these two energies in ourselves. You see, and um, in terms of the sidereal cycle, which is the zodiac, we are in the Pisces stage, which is the two fishes, and the sea as it were the space and time we are in, which is like limited by time and space. Like, for instance, if you are in New York and I am here, then I cannot connect to you, but I can in the core. I if so, what we find is that these man child babies that are born when there is this union of opposites in people, these babies, which are at the same time adults, they are, so at that level we are able to directly connect to each other across the globe in immediately.
So what are we now then? If the next step is adult child, what kind of consciousness are we at now? Because obviously we're not mature or adults. What are we?
No, exactly. The man child is like the paradox, meaning where you get two opposites that are connected. So then you're like you would say then you have this maturity of an adult, but you also have the innocence of a child. I think Jesus referred to it as um, innocent like a dove and cunning like a serpent. And then you have the same version of that in terms of sting, bounce like a butterfly and sting like a bee. But so the man child is like this, is like the paradox, the contained paradox. When you're still in the stage of the two fishes that are not connected, then you would be one or the other. So you would get someone that is on the one side extremely yang or partyish, and then the other side extremely depressed. So you would get then the symbol of the what today nowadays you would call it the happy depressive, outside happy and inside very depressed, for instance. But then when this idea of the man child would be then that this person would reborn in terms of a union of opposites, and in order to enter that next stage, that new ecology, you would have to have rebirth it in terms of that man child, that union of opposites. You understand? And right, so the stage that we are stuck in now is the problem. And you could say that the most of science, the whole of science is classical science is wrong because they look at things in terms of particles, one side, not in terms of pairs. And when you look at things in terms of pairs, you would talk about frequencies, ups and downs. In Spanish, you would call it ondas, waves, vibrations. But what we're finding is that there's a whole new science emerging based on vibrations. And that's the right unit to look at reality with. You see, and the mind, it would be then that you don't look at thoughts or feelings, but you would look at the pair, which is the yin and the yang. And then you get, so the yin and the yang in the mind is, as it were, it's psychophysical. They're one. It's one vibration. You'd have the yin and the yang would be then mental and physical. And it's in those terms that you can understand reality. And we are still stuck in taking them apart. We would either look at thoughts or at emotions.
Yeah.
Or
Or they say, just tell me the story, but don't become emotional.
exactly, exactly. Or they would look at particles, individual particles, but the
Right.
but you would need to look at pairs. So, and that's where you get the idea of the masculine and the feminine as being the ultimate building block, not one or the other. And so that's why classical physics and its search for elementary particles and the ultimate particles, the building blocks, things like the Higgs boson, and that's why it's basically wrong, because what's really happening in the laboratory is that there's this interplay between researcher and particle, because that's the unit, that's the vibration, the vibration. Right. You see, and when we start to understand the vibration, which is fields, then we are taking that next step, because then you don't look anymore at one or the other. And when we can unite the opposites in ourselves, so when we can become aware of the shadow, I call that touching the shadow. So when I am very happy, there's always going to be sadness in me. And if I don't contain them, I will swing from one to the other, oscillate. But if I contain them, if I can be happy sad, as it were, which is the man-child, the two opposites, then we connect to that deeper self, which is the core of the self, and which is, as it were, the butterfly, which is like the being that exists outside of classical space-time. You see, so this whole thing is, we're actually taking a next step here. The human being is taking a next step in evolution, and it's not something so far removed from what we have now. It's not like something completely otherworldly, because now already what we have been finding, for instance, is that the people that I've been working with that have been connecting the opposites, and I have been helping somewhat in that, and these people that have been getting dreams of this rebirth, this baby being pregnant by this man-child, they start to connect telepathically to each other. So I would be working on, for instance, 2 days ago I was working on a video on how we manifest space and time, a new space-time around us, which is what I'm talking about now. And then I get a call that very afternoon of someone that I've been working with that had a dream that is exactly connected to that. And then two other people in a completely different countries have dreams connected with that. This is actually, when this happens, you can say we are already outside of this. The two fishes are we are the two fishes have we're outside the sea of the Pisces, and this is what the Aquarius figure does, the water bearer, because he's standing up out of the sea, throwing water out of a bucket. So then we're out of that space and time, and this is what the mother and the child do, or the twins, when they are connected in a way that is inexplicable by our science. You see, so this is nothing so weird. It's the paranormal. What we call the paranormal becomes commonplace when we work on uniting the yin and the yang, and being centered. And it's not easy, because the whole idea shifts from looking at the external world to looking to a constant effort of focusing on the self, and being aware of these opposites, and being aware that when I'm too much in one side, then the opposite will emerge in my surroundings or in my dreams to compensate, or thus to rebalance me. Okay, so that's a little update on this idea of that the human species is about to take a next step towards towards the completion of who we really are.